Every Marvel superhero dies in this comic, and here's exactly how it happens. But the thing about this is that what we know is in Marvel Comics, you had something called the Ultimate Universe. That universe is dead and destroyed. The only survivors of it were Miles Morales and Ultimate Reed Richards. What Ultimate Reed Richards did is he jumped into the multiverse and tried to find his own reality. He ended up stopping Peter Parker from becoming Spider-Man by preventing him from being bitten by the radioactive spider, but outside of that, we didn't know what was going on. Now, there are huge differences in this universe right now. Number one, Thor never becomes the king of Asgard. Instead, Loki becomes the king after Odin dies. Number two, the Bifrost Bridge is destroyed, so Asgard is cut off from basically everything in existence. Number three, the Fantastic Four are completely and totally non-existent. They were destroyed during their flight. And number four, Tony Stark never became Iron Man. Instead, Howard Stark never died, and he invented the Iron Man suit. Not only that, he's best friends with Obadiah Stane, who did not exist, as far as I know, in the original Ultimate Universe. Now, why is this universe so different from the original Ultimate Universe in Marvel? Because this is not the Ultimate Universe. This is a reality called Earth 6160. What's basically happened here is Ultimate Reed Richards stumbled across this universe, and what he's doing is reworking the entirety of this reality to try to turn it into the Ultimate Universe. Now, another big difference here is that Steve Rogers, Captain America, doesn't exist. There's seemingly no super soldier formula here. So again, massive differences. But what this does is this basically focuses on the opening of what's called the city. And this is a gigantic time skip. I'll explain why this time skip matters here in a little bit. But the city is basically a giant dome whereby Ultimate Reed can effectively fast track evolution. Time passes differently in the dome than it does in the outside world. So basically my house. And the way this works is that as this dome is opened up, anyone who's anybody shows up here. One of the cool things about this is that the Incredible Hulk does exist in this reality, but unlike the Incredible Hulk from the original Ultimate Universe, who was like this mindless savage beast and was a cannibal, in this, he's a pacifist, and in fact, he has a kind of cult built around him, so he's not the Hulk that we traditionally know. Now, the X-Men also exist in this alternate reality, but we don't really know how they came into existence. But as this entire celebration and this opening of the dome opens, Reed looks to the sky and simply says, "Well, I'm waiting." And when that happens, a gigantic time portal opens up, and a whole host of variations of all the superheroes that we know all come pouring out. Different versions of Thor, Captain America, so on and so forth, and they all launch an attack. Now, with Howard Stark being the one who created the Iron Man suit, he doesn't have it on him because this is supposed to be a day for him to relax, but Obadiah Stane does. Something to understand, Howard Stark is Iron Man, Obadiah Stane is basically War Machine. What's so crazy about this is that in the midst of the attack, all the different superheroes say, "We have to get Reed and any other essential personnel. Everybody else, don't kill them if you don't have to, but hey, collateral damage happens." That's one of the big distinctions between the main Marvel Universe and the Ultimate Universe. And the original Ultimate Universe in Marvel Comics, while superheroes wouldn't really intend to kill people, they were a lot more cavalier about the loss of life through collateral damage, which is to say, it wasn't that big of a deal to them. But in the midst of this gigantic fight with Obadiah Stane doing what he can, where he can, when he can, he's ultimately killed in the conflict. Howard Stark is knocked unconscious, and when he wakes up, he stands in the presence of Ultimate Reed, also known as the Maker. And this is when everything gets cool, and this is when we start finding out exactly what's going on. So something to know is Howard Stark is incredibly intelligent here, but when he comes to, he basically wakes up in this room with all these different superheroes that had invaded basically being held captive. And what Ultimate Reed says is that because of the nature of the city, they've been able to break down and understand perfectly how human DNA works. Just a testament to how intelligent this version of Reed Richards is. And so what he deduces is that what someone seems to be doing is that they're either creating superheroes in the future and sending them into the past to destroy Ultimate Reed Richards, or all these different superheroes are just the same person, but from different points in time. They could be separated by one day, they could be separated by 5 years. There's no definitive way to know for sure, and honestly, it doesn't matter. The reason why is because Reed says that in analyzing their DNA, that they are all basically in some capacity either based on or are the offspring of humans that exist out in the world right now. And so Reed gathered all these humans together, brought them into a room, and killed him on the spot. And then it becomes a grandfather paradox. If you guys are familiar with that, if you went back in time and you killed your grandfather, how could you be alive to go back in time? And so what this means is that with the basis behind all these future superheroes basically being destroyed, they can't exist. And so they simply break down into like a giant pool of genetic goo. They basically stop existing. And so this blows Howard Stark's mind. And it seems like this astronomically gruesome thing to do. And so in response to this, Reed says, I want to show you something. And so he brings him into a room and shows him what he calls the Immortus machine. Now, one of the things that I want to establish here is that the Ultimate Universe, as it was originally done in Marvel Comics, was designed to match closer to the real world. So you're not really going to have things like a true Immortus or Kang the Conqueror that sits at the very edge of time and jumps back to the modern era and fights the Avengers and so on and so forth. When you're talking about things like Immortus, it's more represented as the concept of time travel as opposed to a guy who can time travel. It's not to say they can't, because this device is literally a time travel device. Howard Stark picks up on that immediately. And that's when he starts to deduce, that's why people are coming after you, because you're making changes in this universe's history. And by changing the past, you're changing the future. So they're coming from the future to try to stop you, to keep you from potentially ending their existence or any number of things. And so that's when Howard asks the most logical question, what stops them from going back in time and killing your parents before you were born? And the response of Ultimate Reed is, because I'm not from this universe. I'm turning your universe into what used to be my universe. I'm basically reworking your entire history. That's all this is, right? That's the idea behind this, is that the Ultimate Universe is dead and gone. There's no way to bring it back. Instead, the best you could potentially hope for is to travel to an alternate reality and reshape the historical events of that universe to turn it into your own. That's why all of this is happening in the first place. That's why he literally says, do you believe that this world that you live in right now is the way that it was supposed to be? It's not. I've made changes to everything. I stopped Peter Parker from becoming Spider-Man. I put Loki on the throne of Asgard instead of Thor. I led to the destruction of the Bifrost Bridge. I got the Fantastic Four killed. All these things have happened because of my intervention. And so when Howard Stark starts asking questions and says, like, just it's unconscionable what you're doing, the amount of wherewithal and the amount of effort it would take to modify an entire time stream and change everything to annihilate a whole future just to turn the present into what you want it to be, it's gotta be insane. And he says, this was just your first encounter. I can't imagine what happens next. And the response of Reed is, no, it's the second encounter. This is my second attempt at doing this. The first one was 2 weeks ago. And when he removes his helmet, what he shows is that half of his face is basically blown off. That seemingly the first time that Howard Stark had met Reed Richards, he almost killed him. He blew half of his head apart. And so what's basically going on, to kind of clear this up a little bit, is that it is in effect a time loop. That when Ultimate Reed first showed up to this universe, he tried to modify and he tried to change. Things popped off, he was attacked by Iron Man, he used the Immortus machine to go back and try again. This is the second attempt, but this time the machine is slightly damaged. And so what he tells Howard is, I need your help with this. And when the response of Howard is, why would I help you with this machine? The response of Reed is, because I believe you're the one that helped me build this. I don't remember for sure, because ever since the attack between you and myself and half my head is gone, my memories aren't working the way that they're supposed to. So I'm not even fully aware of what's happened before. But with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this to an end. If you want to get caught up or you feel yourself a little bit lost, click the link to this video. This will take you to the first video that we did. Any questions you have, post them down in the comments. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you all later. Peace.